So today we are making lobster bacon macaroni and cheese. And so what I have here is 3 slices of bacon that I've chopped and I'm frying in my cast iron skillet. And what I want to do is get a nice crispy bacon, pretty much done but not overly cooked. And then I've already started on my elbow macaroni shells off camera. They are cooked, they are al dente. That's about 2 cups of large elbow macaroni shells. And then I also have some lobster stock. And basically, what I did was when I deshelled my lobster, I kept the shells and I put them in some water and put them on to cook for my lobster stock. Next, this is the same pan that I cooked my bacon in. I added about a tablespoon of butter to the cast iron skillet after I cooked the bacon. And I did that because I want my macaroni and cheese to have a nice smoky baked bacon undertone as far as the flavor. So basically what I'm doing here is I'm melting the butter because I'm getting ready to make the roux. So there's still a little bit of butter in the pan and a little bit of bacon grease, and that's fine. That'll just be used for extra flavoring. And as you can see, I like to play with my food when I'm cooking. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not making the roux yet. I am actually cooking the lobster right here. My fault. So yeah, I'm cooking the lobster. And I don't want to cook it all the way till it's done. I just want to take the transparency off of it. I want to cook it until it's lightly opaque here. And it's going to finish cooking when I add it to the macaroni and put it in the oven. Now here I'm going to add some garlic, and that's about 2 cloves of garlic that I'm adding to the lobster and the butter. And I'm telling you, it smells so amazing in this kitchen while I'm cooking. You won't believe it. I feel like I could have stopped right there and just had some lobster, garlic, and butter and squeeze a little lemon juice on it. But I was intent on making this macaroni and cheese. So here we're just going to cook the lobster with the garlic. But you don't want to overcook it because you don't want your garlic to be scorched. And you don't want to overcook the lobster at this point. So I've taken the lobster out and the garlic. I've left a few pieces of garlic in there that'll get brown. That's okay. And then I added another tablespoon of butter to the skillet. And now I'm going to make the roux. So I'm adding 3 tablespoons of flour. And I kind of eyeballed it a little bit because there was some residual butter from browning the lobster. And as you can see in a few seconds, I'm going to add some more some more flour because I like a really thick cheese sauce for my roux. And some people don't like it that thick, and that's fine. So at this point, you may stop here and not add any more flour. But I wanted a pretty thick cheese sauce, so I added more flour to it. And what I'm looking for is a dough. Now here, I've added some milk, a total of 3/4 cup of milk. I had already started adding my milk. This would be my second fourth of a cup, and that was my third. I added the first off the camera, but now I am adding cold milk because when you add cold milk to a warm roux, you have a better chance of eliminating the lumps. It comes out much smoother if the liquid that you add to the roux is cold. So here I'm just working out some of the lumps. And as you can see, my mixture is getting pretty thick. Brought in my whisk to help me along with it. And I'm just working it through. Basically what I want to do is cook out that raw flour taste. You don't want that when you're making your cheese sauce. You don't want to taste that flour at all. So that lobster stock that I made, I'm adding that to the mixture, and that's going to thin it out quite a bit. And it's also going to add flavor to our dish. It's going to add that extra layer of seafood flavor to the dish. And I'm just working it through and making a mess. So at this point, my mixture is pretty thick. Um, I also added a little bit of wine. I actually added 3 tablespoons of Pinot Grigio wine to my mixture. You can omit that. You don't have to add wine. And if you like sweeter macaroni and cheese, you can add a sweeter wine to it. Now we're moving on to the cheese. And I have a cup of cheese in total. And that's a mixture of sharp cheddar, Gouda, mozzarella, and Parmesan. So it's going to be nice and cheesy and thick. And basically, what I'm doing is just working the cheese through the mixture, making sure it's getting fully incorporated into the sauce. And I wanted to thin it out a little bit more, so I added a little bit more of that stock to it. And you can do the same. If you realize that your roux has gotten too thick and you didn't want it to, be quite that thick, then go ahead and just add some more liquid to it, either milk or stock or whatever you're using. Now I'm going to add in my cooked pasta, and I'm going to start to stir that around too and make sure that all of the pasta is coated with the sauce. So next, I am going to add in my lobster and my cooked bacon to the mix. This is when it starts getting good. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So basically, what I'm doing is making sure that as much as I can, because I only had a little bit of lobster, I just made this dish for myself. But I wanted to make sure that in each bite that you get at least some lobster or some bacon. So I'm just incorporating it in the mixture pretty well. And now next, what I'm going to do to give it a little extra seafood flavor is sprinkle it with a little bit of Old Bay seasoning. And I really didn't measure this because it's pretty much up to you. You may or may not want to add this, but you can add some garlic powder, some garlic salt. You could add a little Tabasco if you wanted to. You could add a little sugar. Some people put a little sugar in their macaroni and cheese because it brings out the flavor. Any type of flavor that you would like to add, you could at that point. Here I'm adding a fourth a cup of heavy cream because I want it to be a little creamy. And I'm not going to incorporate this very well like I did with the other ingredients. I'm kind of just basically poking some holes in it with the rubber spatula because I want the cream to get down in there, but I don't want it to be fully incorporated. I want that to happen while it's in the oven. So next, what I'm going to do is top this off with another fourth cup of cheese for topping and just to add an extra layer of flavor here. Now, at this point, you could also, if you chose to, you could add some breadcrumbs on the top with some melted butter for that extra layer of flavor and texture. A lot of people do that. I decided not to for this particular dish, but I probably will next time. By the way, this was my first time making it, and now you're seeing how much of a mess I made. I put it in the oven on 350 for 25 minutes, and this is my final product. It is so good, gooey and cheesy. All of those four cheeses and that butter that just melted in your mouth with that good savory and buttery lobster and that crispy smoky bacon with that Gouda cheese. Man, it was so good. It was so hard for me not to just take a bite right there. I couldn't even get it off the spoon. I wanted some so bad. This was my first time making lobster macaroni and cheese. I wanted to go out and get it from a restaurant, but because we're in this quarantine with this COVID thing, I couldn't do it. I couldn't find anybody that was open. I hope that all of you who are watching are safe and you're practicing the proper social distancing in your area. I'd like to thank you for watching, and peace and blessings. Stay safe.